If you're slow in the animal kingdom, you'd better have a plan when trouble comes a-knockin'. Some animals freeze, some hide, some attack, and even others just have a lot of babies, knowing that most will be et. The slow loris does all of the above, except for the babies thing. But if you're also a slow attacker, you need some punch in your bite, or bite in your punch. But giving potential predators the business is how this little loris survives here in life, death, and taxonomy.
Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie Michelle for creating the theme song. Hear more of Cassie's music by searching Cassie Michelle on YouTube. Today we're talking about a sluggish forest clown, but more on that later.
Sluggish forest clown. Yes, I love it.
So let's talk about the names of the thing. What are we talking about? We're talking about, it's the slow loris.
Yes, the mean nickname that kids give, like this poor girl at summer camp who can't keep up when they run the mile. Or it's one of Fat Albert's friends. Like this
Slow
is
Doris.
This is Fat Albert. This is Slow Loris. Like
it's also like not extraordinarily slow. It's just very methodical and fluid in the way it moves.
It is pretty slow.
But like when you think of slow animals, you think of turtles and tortoises and snails. But it can move.
Right, but it spends anyway. We can talk about it. We can as we move forward in the description.
Well, what you got? Any nicknames?
Oh yes, it's nickname time. We are going to. It's called the Slow Loris, which is a great name to start out with. But we're going to call
specifically. We're talking about the Sunda Slow Loris, right? The greater Slow Loris.
Basically, it's the one that if you go into YouTube and type in Slow Loris, this is the one that you're going to see. It's in my opinion the cutest, but it's also the most iconic. But we're going to call it here the Vapid Venom Vizier, the Poison Panda, and Monkey Munches.
Nice.
Because I spent about 20 straight minutes watching a slow loris eat things like bananas and rice balls and bread.
It's adorable.
It's great. So I just watched the monkey munch.
Well, that's a little inaccurate, and here we're going to talk about why. You ready for the taxonomy?
Yes.
It's in the kingdom you know, love, and are in. The kingdom Animalia.
Yes.
It's in the phylum Chordata. You know what that means.
I do. Means it's a bird.
Yeah, no.
Oh, darn it.
Well,
birds are chordatas.
Yeah. The class is Mammalia, which means it's not a bird.
Hey, look at me doing I'm covering a mammal this time. Branching
Look
out.
at you. Look at us. Who would have thought? The order is primates. You know what those are.
That's why I call it a monkey. That's about as far as it goes.
Yes, but because of the suborder, which is Strepsirrhini?
Strepsirrhini? That's what I would say. Strepsirrhini?
That suborder is the branch of primates that diverges from apes and monkeys. Instead, it's made up of lemurs, bush babies, potos, just anything adorable in the primate family. It might be in this suborder.
Monkeys are pretty adorable. Some
yeah,
of them.
but maybe not as much as these.
No.
Because it's a toss-up. Some, just by and large, Strepsirrhini is very cute. But they differ from simians because of their carnivore-esque faces, wet noses, which is indicative of an animal that relies on smell for some reason. They have powerful senses of smell, and they have a vomeronasal organ, which helps them detect pheromones, which apes do not have. And they're also not as big-brained as simians. And they rely less on high problem-solving levels of intelligence, and they're more primitive in their, mental makeup.
But they still grasp things and it's great.
That's right. They do still have an opposable thumb. They're in the family Lorisidae, lorises,
Mm-hmm.
and then the genus Nycticebus.
Yeah, that sounds
think
right to
that's-
me.
Wow. And then the species is Kukang.
Kukang?
Kukang gang. Nycticebus Kukang or Kukang. Nice. Kusain?
No.
Usain Bolt?
Usain Bolt. It's not exactly it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue like Slow Loris does, so we'll stick with that. Or the Poison Panda,
Yeah.
love that. But since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for Critter Groups, the part of the show where I ask you a question, and that question is the same every time. What is the name of a group of this animal? Or the name of the term of venerate? Or what is the collective noun? It's all the same, basically, the group. And we have one. I thought I was going to have to do lemurs because I was like, there's no way there's one for lorises. But there is one for lorises. So let's dive into this. So, Joe, if you saw a bunch of slow lorises, I just love saying the fact that slow is in their name. There's just a bunch of slow lorises. Would you say that's a lollygag of slow lorises? That's A, is lollygag. B is drape of slow lorises. C is plot of slow lorises. And D is drove of slow lorises.
What was B?
Drape. D-R-A-P-E.
I really want it to be a lollygag, but that's too perfect. Drape, final answer.
Incorrect. The answer was drove. I know it's
Oh,
not...
thank goodness. I'm glad it's not lollygag.
Yeah.
Well, I want it to be,
I-
but I also didn't want to be wrong about that.
Whenever there's one that I want it to be, it always makes its way into the Critter Groups lineup.
Every once in a while, the thing that, like Congregation,
Yes,
that's the one I wanted it to be, and it was that.
for praying mantises, yes, that was absolutely perfect. But the slow lorises are more well known than I thought they were, so they actually have several names. So if we ever do another slow loris, I'll have a backup. But
Nice.
why don't you tell us? We've called him cute. So just tell us what paint a picture. How cute.
Well, the slow loris is a small, furry forest baby with big anime eyes, teddy bear ears, and a hairy little people hands.
A hairy little people hands.
I didn't write but I said it out loud. So their fur comes in light brown to dark red with a dark stripe along the spine. They also have white stripes on their noses and dark circles around their eyes. Their fur is thick and almost woolly in texture. They technically have... What were you gonna
The
say?
dark circles around their eyes aren't just dark circles, they're like dark teardrops. So they always look afraid and concerned. They always look like Slow Loris looks like you've just reprimanded him and he's really, really sorry about what he did. Like, I can't imagine getting mad at a Slow Loris. He just looks like he's like you gave him a tongue lashing and he went and hid underneath something and he's just peeking out going like, I'm sorry.
It looks like Puss in Boots, like the little like kitty cat face.
If ever
all the time.
If ever an animal was a character in a Dickens novel, this would be it. He's like that adorable little gutter snipe with the heart of gold. Is just dealt a bad hand in life, but you know he has that potential. Please, sir, can I have some more?
They technically have a tail, but it's tiny and vestigial, just like a bear.
Not very useful.
So they don't. You can see it on the skeleton, but you can't usually see it on the loris, the full loris. But
I refuse to believe that these animals die.
They don't.
When it's their time, I think that they just turn into butterflies.
Are you ready to hear the animal size in dimensions and relatable terms?
As ready as I will ever be. Bring it on.
Okay, welcome to the Beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show, the part of the show that's when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send in audio of yourself singing, or chittering the words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new measure up intro today.
No.
But so that means we get to hear from an animal, and Carlos has to guess what it is.
Rats.
Man, I struggled through that because I was actually trying to read it this time for some reason, and I realized for the past several weeks, I've memorized it.
You just need to make it your mantra.
Let's get into it. Let me pull this up. Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show.
All right, I'm going to be patient and let you tell me the options this time.
Okay. Is it A, a burst-horned baboon tarantula, B, a hissing cockroach, C, a Canadian goose, or D, a gopher snake?
A gopher snake? Didn't know there was a gopher snake. I am always surrounded by Canadian geese, or at least my house is. I'm not. That would be crazy if I was constantly surrounded. So I've never heard them make that sound. So I think we can rule that one out safely. I don't think that if there was a tarantula that made a sound like that, I feel like I would have heard about it. Like I have heard about the hissing cockroach. So I will rule out the tarantula. It's either a gopher snake or a hissing cockroach, and I haven't heard a hissing cockroach before. But I'm gonna go with the hissing cockroach. That's my final answer.
Final answer.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yes.
All of these animals hiss. You can look up a video. I almost went with the Canadian goose because it sounds like a freaking snake hissing, but there are other gooses making typical goose noises, traditional goose noises in the background, and that would have totally given it away.
Is this a goose, or is it a snake that has been dropped into a pen full of geese?
It's a goose. But also the tarantula stridulates that make in a way that sounds sort of like hissing.
Tarantulas are fascinating and terrifying, and they need to stop. They need to stop. They need to stop being able to do the things that they could do.
Well, let's get right into it. Length. They are between 27 and 38 centimeters, or 11 and 15 inches. Let's go with a large and 15-inch loris.
Okay.
How many of Malaysia's special commemorative edition 600 ringgit banknote, ringgit is the currency, how many of these commemorative ringgits go into the length of a slow loris?
This is a bill? Or you?
Yes.
Okay.
Worth 600 ringgits. So here's a hint. The special ringgit was printed to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the signing of the Federation of Malayan Independence, the Federation of Malaya Independence Act, and the 60th anniversary was in 2017, which was when Malaysia became a sovereign nation and a member of the Commonwealth of Nations. So this was written poorly. The 60th anniversary is in 2017, and it commemorates the date 60 years ago in which it became a sovereign nation. The note is for 600 ringgits, which is like 143 US dollars, but it's actually worth much more than that due to its rarity. Up in the thousands of ringgits.
So, how many of these go into the length of a slow loris? I'm going to say 3.
3 notes, 3 ringgits.
Because I'm imagining the length of just the average kind of paper currency that a country has. And I think 5 inches is a pretty safe bet. I know China's got like really like much shorter ones. I think they're like 3 inches, but still it can't be that. It's either 3 or 5, and I'm gonna go with 3.
Final answer?
Yes.
The correct answer, before I give you that, let me just tell you, this is the largest official banknote in the world.
Oh, that would have helped.
And it's actually one note.
Did you say
1-to-1?
Did you say that? Did I miss that?
No,
Oh.
it would have been too good of a hint. So, the special RM600 was 22 centimeters by 37 centimeters, which is about 9 inches by 15 inches.
Okay, that's pretty big. I mean, it's not like one of those giant checks they give people, but it's
No, but it's an official banknote, and it's fun. The width. Let's talk about width. They are between 599 and 685 grams, or to 21.1 and 24.2 ounces. Let's call it 24 ounces, or 680 grams. How many lorises go into the weight of the 2 trains that Velu Radhakrishnan, it's very phonetic, shouldn't have struggled.
You nailed it.
The weight of the 2 trains that this man pulled with his teeth in 2003. Guess where he's from?
Malaysia.
Malaysia. Here's a hint. The feat got Radhakrishnan a world record and the nickname King Tooth. He trained for the event through meditation, jaw strengthening exercises, and lifting 250 kilos with his mouth. He also ran, like he did some jogging.
You gotta have.
Well, he had to pull a train, so I guess he did have to have cardio.
You had to have the pipes to be able to roar like he must have through his teeth as he was pulling it. 250 kilos. That's how he trained. That's a good basis point. And the pun is not lost on me. I know he trained for it.
But also, he's lifting 250 kilos off the ground.
This is pulling.
When he's pulling the trains, he's just pulling them on wheels on a track.
Yes, but even on wheels, he still needs to overcome static friction and then keep them, and then like increase, inertia in order to move it anywhere. 250 kilos is about 500 pounds. He could do that? Like 520 pounds? He could just lift with his teeth? Bananas.
He can.
So I'm going to say the answer is...
That's hard to do with your legs.
I can't squat 520 pounds.
You could with some training.
Yeah, Sure, yeah, but like my legs are a lot.
It's something you can do with training, but it's still difficult.
I don't know how his teeth stay in. Like, you can get your jaw as strong as you want, but like if your teeth just go ripping out of your gums.
Well, if you're applying enough jaw pressure on the bite, then you can overcome the force.
And crack your teeth
pulled out of your mouth.
People who grind their teeth or clench their jaws often crack their teeth just by that alone. This man's a superhuman. He should have been on Stan Lee's Superhumans.
Maybe he was.
Probably. I'm going to say 2 tons. 4,000.
2 tons.
4,000 pounds. So that's about... And so we're talking about 24 ounces, which is a pound and a half. Exactly. The answer is 2,666. The mark of the beast.
Final answer?
Yes. Basically, I'll just say 2,600. 2,600 lorises. That's how much he could pull.
The correct answer is 383,529 lorises.
Oh my goodness!
The 2 trains weighed a combined 260.8 metric tons, or 574,968.58 pounds.
I have to look this up.
There's a video.
That's insane. I was just picturing him like pulling like a big truck or something like that worth of train, like like a couple light train cars or something like that. I don't know. That's crazy. That's the most ever. It's the most.
It is the most.
He did it.
It's a record. So let's talk fast facts. You ready for that?
Yep.
The slow loris is from Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, and you guessed it, Malaysia. There are arboreal animals, so densely forested areas are ideal for them. Loris locomotion is considered unique. Moving in any direction is slow, methodical, and it looks a lot like climbing, even if they're not climbing. They often move noiselessly, even when moving from branch to branch. They're also said to move in a snake-like fashion, probably because they have this extra vertebrate that makes their spine flexible and wiggly, I suppose.
They curl up into a ball often.
Very cute. Very cute. A video featuring a loris with its arms raised as it's being tickled popularized the animal as a pet. Apparently, though, the arms raised stance, while adorable, is a sign of distress, and lorises make terrible pets. Here's some reasons why. They're nocturnal, and brightly lit rooms can actually cause significant discomfort for the animal, whose eyes are giant and designed to take in as much light as possible. Even though they're called slow, they travel large distances at night in the wild, so small cages don't allow them to express a natural range of motion. The loris is in danger of extinction due to habitat loss and the pet trade. It's illegal in many countries, and it's even illegal to export them. So you shouldn't have them as pets, even though they're adorable, and I really want to. But there's one more reason they shouldn't be kept as pets, and you are, I think, going to talk about that.
Right. Also, the slow loris can live to be like 25 years old, so you buy that, you're stuck with it. I worked with somebody who, where the owner had a kinkajou, which is not a slow loris, but it is a similar lemur type primate, and those things live for like 40 something years. So, and they're nocturnal, and they're part of the exotic pet trade. So, it was a nuisance to that guy, to say the least. So just buy regular pets, please. Homegrown.
Dogs are literally adapted to live with humans.
Yeah, they actually can't not live with humans. Very well, at least.
They can, but they
like
get mange
huge
and
packs
die.
and stuff like that. They're completely domesticated. All right, so here's the last reason why you wouldn't want to have one as a pet. So these wide-eyed and adorable little tree rabbits have a dark secret. They're slow. No, well, they move it like mock sloth in order to avoid disturbing the tree, like you said. They don't want to attract any attention when they're crawling around, so they move as slowly as possible, so it doesn't, like, you know, a whole tree branch doesn't move and tell a hawk that, hey, there's a really slow, delicious animal here. And if they do accidentally disturb the tree, or if they are disturbed, then they immediately freeze, and like they do put their hands over their head. They kind of like cover. It's really cute. They put their hands like just over their face and eyes, like in a clear demonstration that they don't understand object permanence. They're like, if you can't see me, I can't see you. I am gone. You are gone. Danger is not there. We're good. I'm safe. I don't know why they do that, because there's no way that it works, but maybe, I don't know. It hides their eyes. Maybe their eyes are easier to spot because they're enormous and they can stick their whole fists in them. That's how big they are.
If hawks have flashlights, they do light up because they,
have flashlights.
unlike simians, they have that I forgot what it's called. The stuff in their eyes that makes them see better at night, but also
Oh
reflects
yeah.
light.
I don't know what that's called either, but like cats have it and stuff like that. So since they're slow and slow lorises can't hope to outrun even like an ambitious vine, they need a solution when they're cornered, and that's where their second dark secret comes in. They're actually venomous. Kinda. Okay. Venomous mammals aren't unheard of, but they're also not common. There's not a lot of them.
I'm thinking of shrews and the platypus. Anything else?
Moles and bats. There's some
Moles
bats.
and bats.
Moles and bats. But yeah, this is it. Shrews, moles, bats, and platypuses. Platypi. But the slow loris is the only venomous primate in the world. But it's not venom. It's not venomous in the way that you might think. So most venomous animals secrete the venom in a gland and inject it either through like hollow needle fangs, like snakes and spiders and conches and insects and fish and stuff like that, or they have special stinging cells that release the venom, like jellyfish or man o' war or something like that. But the important thing is that the venom is created and introduced at the point of contact. So there's a gland that produces it, and then it feeds into this administration receptacle, which is like a fang or like a stinging cell or something like that. But the slow loris has to take an extra step if it wants to bring the pain, because the venom is actually more like poison. It's produced in a gland called the brachial gland, and it's located on the inside of its cute little elbow. So when it's threatened, the gland will secrete this toxin, kind of like if you mess with a toad, it'll secrete the toxin out of its glands. We know that toads are not venomous, they're poisonous. So this very similar thing happens with the loris. But the difference is the loris will lick the toxin off of its own elbow to coat its mouth and teeth in this poison, and then it will bite, which will inject the poison into its attacker. So yes, effectively it's venom, but it doesn't really work like most venom. It actually works like poison. If a frog could lick the poison off of its back and then bite you to administer the poison, then that's basically what it would do. But I also don't want to gloss over the secondary major fact that it can lick its own elbow, which is for primates pretty impressive. But if you're handling a slow loris, you don't have that much to fear, unless you have a serious cat allergy, because the toxin is actually similar to cat dander. It's not cat dander, but it has similar properties. It usually uses its venom to attack potential predators like hawks and eagles and sun bears and clouded leopards, and even our own taxonomy titans like orangutans and binturongs. This is all slow lorises, by the way, that do this, not just the one in Malaysia. And it can even coat the top of its head with the toxin by using its hands, and then curl up into a ball with the help of its extra vertebrae, and that'll ward off attack. The toxin apparently smells really bad, kind of like the horned lizard eyeball blood. So predators are more likely to back off when they smell it.
They also communicate with it.
Yeah, they'll also bite each other.
They are very much what I imagine a Jawa is underneath the hood. because they have those glowing little eyes.
Yeah.
And Jawas are said to communicate with sound and smells.
I've never heard of that before. Sound made sense because they do have their adorable little language, but I didn't know they released pheromones. But if they pulled back one of those hoods and I saw a slow loris, I would be pleasantly, but only slightly surprised. But despite being looking like they do, not Jawas, the slow lores. They are pretty combative. They'll fight each other over territory and mates, and this is the number one cause of death for slow lorises in captivity, is fighting each other. I imagine it's like a Tai Chi. Have you ever seen that the video of the Tai Chi battle, where they're like they do these like these two guys and they're dressed up like karate or whatever, and they're fighting, but it's Tai Chi, so they're moving really slowly and doing all these slow movements. But as soon as they touch the other person, he like vomits, like it hits him in the stomach, and he like throws up and falls over because it's just so powerful. The Tai Chi transferred all of his chakra over. But no, a slow loris can move quickly when it wants to. Is particularly in short bursts, so they do lunge and attack each other, and they're clearly not immune to their own venom. Well, they might be immune to the venom that they secrete, but they're not immune to the venom of other slow lorises. And they will bite humans. I don't want to downplay that. I know I said like you don't have very, very much to fear, but if you give them a reason to bite you, they will bite you, and this usually results in swelling. It's not really that big of an issue. It's like being injected with cat dander. But one person did die, but that was because of anaphylactic shock.
Yes.
Meaning they had a severe allergic reaction to the toxin and died. But for the most part, it's going to be a cut because they bit you, and then that cut's going to feel a lot worse than it would have if you got bit by something that didn't have venom. So the prevailing theory is that the slow loris gets its toxins from the insects it eats. So lorises in captivity are less likely to be as venomous as the ones in the wild. And because most bites on humans happen in captivity, we don't really know exactly what will happen if you find one in the wild and get bit, whether it will be like a lot worse or it's probably going to be worse. But yeah, that's the slow loris. It's a little monkey panda that is actually venomous.
It's adorable, though.
It is really. I don't recommend that anyone buys one.
But I recommend. Do you recommend
looking up videos of it?
Looking up videos of them eating bananas for an hour?
Yeah, but then you're also supporting the Slow Loris channel, which is clearly somebody who has bought a slow loris.
Oh, dang it. Look up a zoo's channel that have a responsible area for them to walk around in. Oh, another reason that they make bad pets, well, the pet trade is bad for them is that to avoid humans getting bit and like hurt by this toxin, they will file down their teeth.
Ooh.
So, and then feed them like mushy bananas so they don't have to like rip stuff apart as much.
That sounds not good for them.
It's like declawing a cat. If you basically you can never let it like back into the wild at that point.
But I imagine once you're holding a slow loris, you would be incapable of releasing it.
You're never gonna put it down.
Emotionally incapable of opening up your
you.
arms and yeah, I guess until it bites you. But even then, it's gonna look at you with a face like, I didn't bite you. I didn't mean to. And you're gonna be like, oh, ow, ow, ow.
Your fingies look like bananas. And you're like, you're right.
I
apologize.
And you're gonna be like, ew, don't talk like that. That's all I got. You got anything else on the slow loris?
That's all I got.
All right, so for you out there in Podcastia, slow down. Take life in stride. And don't forget to use your venom if you've got some to spare, like the slow loris here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy. Hey everyone, Carlos here. I just wanted to take some time to thank you for listening to our show. We know you have a limited time during the day, so we're just happy you spent some of it with us. We truly appreciate you, and we'd actually love to hear your feedback. If you have an animal you'd like us to hear about or have any comments about our show, you can email us at ldtaxonomy@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter at ldtaxonomy. Once again, thanks for listening. It means the world to us, and we'll see you next week.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
Well, because sometimes weird stuff is fun. I like weird stuff.
I don't really like weird stuff.